too much for me. I don't know. All right. Is everyone ready? And they all lived happily ever after. Wouldn't it be nice if that's truly how all stories could end? Disney has been sending us that message since 1937 when they released their first movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Not only do they always give the message that there will be a happy ending, but their plots are filled with sexism, violence, and characters that make terrible decisions for themselves. These stories set kids up with the wrong ideas and teach them all the wrong lessons. Let's start with the movie that began it all, Snow White. Snow White finds out that the queen is trying to kill her, so she runs away from home. She finds a cottage, and what does she do? She walks right in, sending the message to children that walking into a stranger's house is perfectly normal and safe. Not only does she portray breaking and entering, but she goes on to use items in a strange house that do not belong to her. We all know we're not supposed to use what does not belong to us without asking first. However, children will get the impression that it's okay to do so because the movies that their parents are suggesting for them have characters that do so. As if it weren't enough already, she spends the rest of the movie living alone with 7 men. If a girl our age was living in a house with 7 men, people would have plenty to say to her, and hi-ho might just be one of them. As a child, one of the lessons taught to everyone is never talk to strangers. However, how can kids follow these rules when our favorite movies are displaying the exact opposite? Snow White talks to a stranger, has no trouble accepting food and eating it from this stranger, and winds up getting killed. But kids won't be able to see that this is problematic, because before anything bad could truly happen to her, she's saved with a mere kiss from a man she barely knows. Thus, talking to strangers and accepting food from them is okay, because everything will turn out all right in the end. Children won't get anything good out of these movies because they're never truly exposed to the dangers of the characters' decisions. Another Disney classic that portrays terrible lifestyle choices is Cinderella. Cinderella is forced to live a life as a servant to an evil stepmother. She hates her life, and the only thing keeping her going is her hope that one day her dreams will come true. However, she does absolutely nothing in this movie to make her dreams come true. Instead of fighting for what she's always wanted, or working hard in order to achieve success, she simply waits around until a fairy godmother can do everything for her. Considering that magic isn't real, children get the impression that if they want something, all they have to do is wish for it and it will happen. Children need to be taught that you must work hard for the things that you want and make your own dreams come true. But again, since there's a happily ever after for Cinderella, kids are tricked into believing that things will turn out the same way for them. Almost every Disney movie introduced to children has a bad message somewhere in it. Sexism is one of the main problems. The women, or should I say girls in these films, are shown as inferior to men and make terrible choices. A classic example of true sexism in Disney can be found in The Little Mermaid. Ariel is a 16-year-old who wears nothing but a seashell bra. Young girls are often seen wearing outfits to match up with their favorite musicians, movies, and TV shows. We see girls wearing Cinderella gowns, Snow White dresses, and Tinkerbell fairy costumes all the time. Similarly, young girls imitate the outfit worn by Ariel, which is clearly not appropriate for their age group. Also, young girls who may not have a body type exactly like Ariel's may feel inadequate and feel as if they cannot live up to the standards that society has set up for them. In the movie, Ariel sees a boy once, and basing her infatuation solely off of the way that he looks, she trades her life away to an evil witch. Not only does she run away from her home and her family, she does it so she can chase after a man she's never met. Once the boy has killed her enemy, she proceeds to marry him and leaves her entire family behind. We wonder why we have TV shows like Engaged and Underage portraying couples as young as 17 and 18 preparing for their weddings. But the true answer can be found in Disney. Ariel was only 16 years old, and she signs her life away to marry a stranger. This sends a message to young girls that it's okay to give everything up for a man. Furthermore, it may even send the message that women need to give everything up for men, implying that women are inferior. The idea of violence is also heavily shown in almost every Disney movie out there. Disney sends the message that violence is a key ingredient needed for success and power. In The Little Mermaid, Ursula is stabbed with a ship and dies. In Beauty and the Beast, Gaston and the Beast have a showdown where the Beast is stabbed and Gaston dies. In Mulan, all of the Huns are killed, and in Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts beheads people. But there's no better example of violence in Disney than in The Lion King. The entire movie basically sends the message that if you want to succeed, others will have to suffer. The climax of the movie is when Simba and Scar have a showdown for the title of king. The scene is filled with fire, biting, scratching, and in the end, death. Simba kills Scar for the kingdom, and he ends up being torn apart by hyenas. Young children are getting it drilled into their heads that in order to win, you must hurt others in the process. Scar did so by killing Mufasa, and Simba does so by killing Scar. Of course, the movie ends happily for Simba, which tells kids that domination and violence are the ways to get what you want. Why do we willingly send these messages to children? Now, parents can't go back and change the Disney classics, and I'm certainly not suggesting that they cut their kids off from Disney. But they can take the responsibility to point out the rights and the wrongs in the Disney movies that they show their kids. I know none of us have kids quite yet, but many of us plan to in the future. And even if we don't, we have younger siblings, cousins, nieces, and nephews that we babysit or spend time with. If you're planning on having kids or showing them these movies, or if you share them with other family members and friends, you must explain that not every ending can necessarily be happy, and we can't always get everything we want. Instead, we need to give the message that if you work hard and have the right morals and values, you can be successful. We cannot talk to a stranger unless our parents give us the okay. We have to work hard and be driven in order to achieve the goals that we set for ourselves. Women shouldn't have to give up their families for men, and violence is not needed in order to gain success. If we start taking responsibility, we can see a major improvement in the children growing up today. There could be less violence seen in children, fewer problems with body image, more confident women, and more respectful men. If we continue to allow these movies to be shown without any explanation as to the faulty messages, kids will continue growing up with conflicting ideas and morals. The sexism, violence, and overall irrational decisions made by these characters are not good examples for children, and they need to be made aware of this. If we simply take the time to explain these movies to children, we can avoid problems in the future, and maybe there will be a happily ever after all.